I was born in East Tennessee, pretty conservative Appalachian family, and yet it was always said about me and the family that they better tie me to a tree because I was going to roam the world. My wife and I, we considered mission work, and it was just a matter of waiting for the right time, and we were invited to Ghana. In the early 80s, Ghana was in a very difficult economic and political situation. We were very young and very inexperienced.
When he came first, one of the elders, he said to me, no, this man shouldn't become a missionary. He's too young. I said, well, let's work with him and see how it will go.
At that time in Ghana, there were only a quota of 2 missionaries were allowed from each church. So we were the only missionaries there from the Churches of Christ, so we were not on a team. But I think it was a blessing in some ways we were not on a team because we became very close to the Ghanaian people.
We tried to embed ourselves in the culture and the life to make ourselves part of what's already there.
Think about this. You are an American missionary. You go to a country to teach them and to baptize them and to train them. You want to establish your authority, but Dan didn't do that.
Dan and Brenda were very intentional to submit to those national elders.
He listened to advice. He will never solve a problem for somebody. He will help you how to solve the problem yourself.
They chose to continually put themselves in places of service below their Ghanaian brothers and sisters.
They were way ahead of their time and where we're trying to go today.
We found a lot of ways to serve and to help. Education and ministry training and evangelistic teams, community development, well drilling, helping to develop clinics. We always tried to work in such a way that we would help get it started and then we would fade to encourage full Ghanaian leadership totally.
They made Eastern Road Church as a springboard to the whole country and across West Africa.
My work was pioneering work. I go to places where the gospel hasn't gone yet. And he loved to do that too. So we started going to the north.
We moved up to the northern part of the country to a town called Yindi. Yindi is heavily Islamic.
We really became involved with Muslims when we moved to the north. It opens your eyes to a whole new world, and you see how God is working among people, all peoples.
It's not about extracting anybody from anything. I didn't put them there. Somebody else did or something else did, but it's introducing as much as possible the influence and the element of the Christ. And I think that's just sort of my philosophy of cross-cultural or mission work in general. Instead of focusing on taking people out of something, focus on putting Christ into something and let Christ do the work.
And that opened doors for so many people to read the gospel, including Muslims. We had as many as 760-something churches started in that part of the country.
The gospel is an empowering message, but it's an empowering message for everyone in such a way that sometimes the teachers, part of our ministry is to get out of the way. We wanted to leave at a time when we felt the Lord was leading us to leave and move to something new.
That was a big blow to Ghanaians because of the way Dan McVey related. He was a unifier.
Since we came back to the U.S., we've still been greatly involved with religious dialogue between Muslims, Christians, and Jews.
We've always found that where people are seeking to understand and honor God in all things, there's a lot of room for dialogue, a lot of room for understanding.
It was a big part of my decision to go on to HCU knowing that they were going to be there. And I remember even Dan saying, Muslims need to teach about Islam. There's no need to teach not this, not this, not this. Instead, just teach Christ and let that shape everything else.
There's a woman I'm friends with. When she initiates spiritual conversations, I don't feel this sense of, okay, this is my opportunity, and how do I get it right, and how do I say it perfectly and lure her in, or all these things. It's just organic. And I think not feeling this possessiveness of Christ, but almost more of a curiosity in myself. It was an opportunity. How does Christ reveal himself to her, or is he? And there becomes a mutuality in our conversations. Dan and Brenda are just echoing in my ears in that moment. You know, for people like us, they have been, maybe being some of the most influential people in our lives and our ministry.
Dan and Brenda, they are excellent examples of how to look into people and not simply looking at people.
One of the projects that Jerry has headed up for several years now is the Racial Unity Leadership Summit and the Carl Spain Center for Race Studies and Spiritual Action here at ACU. And so Brenda and I have been blessed to work with Jerry in this project.
I think Dan and Brenda represent what is best about the church. Church inclusive, church loving, church in fellowship. Anywhere we see an opportunity to raise our voices for peace and for unity, we have sought to do that.
Besides all the churches he's planted and all the language and other things, his lasting legacy to me is his character that he demonstrated to us. Anytime I'm confronted with certain situations, I will ask myself, if Dan was here, what will he do? And then I will change. Well, anyway, God, we thank God for his life. We thank God for his life. Yes.
For the 2024 Crystal Globe Award, we are thrilled this year to be able to give this award to Dan and Brenda McVey.